Hello, beautiful human. It's Caroline Power here, and I am going to be very vulnerable today with you. I am here to tell you a little bit about what I feel is my mission in life, what I feel it's my purpose. And this all started when I was a teenager. And when I was a teenager, I had an eating disorder, right? So it's not easy for me to talk about this. This specific, you can see Phoebe is coming. Okay. So Phoebe's come to give me her support here. So it's not very easy for me to actually talk about this. Hence why I have been looking at this post and contemplating whether to press live or not. I have been having this call to talk about this part of my story since last year, since my mother-in-law passed away in April, and I feel like it's time now to share and be vulnerable, because when I'm vulnerable, I am me, and this is what I went through. So when I was a teenager, I had an eating disorder. Nobody knew about it. It was a silent disease. It was silent. Nobody even had an idea. Now, if I actually if my mother watches this, she might even realize, oh yeah, that it was a sign and I didn't notice, right? So I started working really early and being able to buy my own food and things like that. So that was, I feel like I might cry. So you guys, I really need to do this because it's a cathartic way for me to express, right? So if you're joining me live, just say hello and know that I know you're there for me. And I started earning money really early. I used to go out and buy foods for myself, and I used to say, yep, I've eaten, I've already had lunch, or I've already had dinner, and I would lock myself in my room because I liked just resting and relaxing, projector life. I liked resting and relaxing, and nobody knew that I would go maybe like 2 to 3 days without eating anything. And I'm shaking as I'm saying this, but anyway, I'm gonna keep going. And all eating disorders are really mental health. You know, we need to normalize mental health issues, and we need to normalize the way we talk about these things. And it could be that, you know, maybe you just have poor eating habits, which is okay. But what are you doing with those poor eating habits? What are you thinking about? When I was a teenager, I was thinking about, my gosh, if I don't eat, I'm going to have perfect abs. I don't really feel like exercising. And people say that it's 70-80, you know, 70% food and 30% exercise. So let me just go and work. That I was pretty much a workaholic since I started working, and then go home and starve myself, right? Or we had cable TV very early at home, right? So they used to have the little exercise routines, like the TV exercises. And I would wake up at 6 a.m. every morning. I would do the exercises. That was the time it was on TV, and I would go back to sleep. And I'd just wake up again at 8 o'clock to go about with my day. And it was all really ended up culminating in a really bad depression. And then I started doing the opposite. I started binging and eating, and then purging after eating. And at one point, I had some marks over here from putting this finger, the middle finger, right down my throat to actually get it all out. I felt guilty about eating. I felt unloved, and I felt that food was there to show me that, hey, I have enough money. I can buy myself love, you say can't buy me love, but food was the close substitute for me. I had a boyfriend when I was 17, and that breakup didn't go as well. So that ended up getting me spiraled. I ended up starting to go to a psychologist, and she didn't even know that I had an eating problem. To be perfectly honest with you, I didn't even know I had an eating problem. I thought it was normal. I thought that it was okay. And once I started reading things about it, you know, the internet's amazing. And once I started reading things about it, I was like, oh, this sounds like me. And I ended up going, okay, I was going to go do medicine in school, and I was just like, nah, I'm going to do nutrition. And I felt like I needed to understand what I could eat and what I couldn't eat, or whatever, you know, like I needed some sort of guidance. And I got this really strong thing saying, no, you got to learn to cook, and you got to learn. So I wanted to be a chef, right? So I went to do dietetics. And I was a very angry teenager as well. And now I know that I was an angry teenager because I wasn't loving myself, and I was depriving myself of the food. And I was angry because my mother was a psychologist, and she didn't pick up that I had an eating disorder. And maybe I was just wanting attention because, you know, and I'm being super duper vulnerable here. And I'm like, I got my heart in my throat. So I hope this, you know, this helps someone. I promised myself that I would do this for 2020, and I would actually talk about eating disorders and my story. So anyway, so I went to uni. I actually one day confided in my maternal nutrition. So it's maternal and infant nutrition teacher at the time. And she said, you have got to tell your psychologist about this. And one day, I think I was about 20, 21, I did tell my psychologist about it. And thanks, Natasha. Don't make me cry. It's already hard for me to talk about this. But thanks I'm keeping going because of you. So I told my psychologist about it, and she said, we got to tell your mother. So we had a session where it was myself, my mother, and my psychologist. My psychologist was also, by the way, a hypnotherapist. Like, she also did hypnosis, which was amazing. I think that was one of the reasons why I started shifting everything so easily. I started taking antidepressants at the time because the depression was very strong. I had that feeling that I really needed to be someone, and I didn't feel like I was enough, and food and being able to buy the food that I wanted made me feel like I was enough. Thanks, Kylie. Hi, Kylie. So, yeah, I told my mother, and I was like on watch for a little bit. My professor at uni really helped me as well. I started working with her at the hospital as well, and I started really treating patients that had been, you know, diagnosed with really severe anorexia and really severe eating disorders. And that was a wake-up call for me. But of course, that even me changing my eating habits, I ended up specializing in food technology because I felt that that was really too close to home. And I went to work for a chain of 11 restaurants. And what happened when I stopped thinking about those things? I put on the weight again, right? I put on 12 kilos at the time, and I was 65 kilos, and I was normally, 53, 54. I know I was super thin, right? But to me, that was normal. To me, that was amazing. And, I went to work for a chain of 11 restaurants where I tasted foods a lot, and I tasted new samples and all that kind of stuff. And I did put on the weight. And what did I do after that? I started fasting again and thinking that that was the right way to release the weight. I'm going to keep going because I have to. So, what ended up happening is I got hepatitis in 2006, and it was actually B-type hepatitis. And I mean, I'm not promiscuous, and I don't really, go off having sex with people. So it was because one day I literally, and I know why, because I used to just fast all day, and go out with my friends at night and just drink alcohol, because that was my calories. That was the calories that I could eat. And so I would just end up in hospital. And one day, obviously, I ended up in a public hospital. My parents don't even know this, guys. So I'm like, I'm shaking because I do need to say this story. Thanks, Magda. And then I ended up in hospitals, and I ended up in like public hospitals in Brazil. And I think that's how I contracted hepatitis B. And if you know anything about mind-body connection, hepatitis is all about anger. And I knew that I was angry at myself. I was angry at myself for not loving myself. I was angry at myself for letting myself get to that. And I remember the moment I was angry at my mom at the time, because my mother she really sheltered my brother. And the one thing I wanted to do was leave Brazil and go study abroad. And I remember the moment my mother came into the room, and I had hepatitis, and she said, you know, daughter, I will pay for your ticket. Go live your dreams. And that was the best thing that my mother could ever done for me. She bought me a ticket to Manchester, which is where my post-grad happened. And then I was, you know, it was very, very tough time because I couldn't leave the house, right? I couldn't, because my hepatitis was so intense that my liver was like jelly. And, you know, I completely understand why, because I lived in anger my whole life, and I just blamed other people for being so angry. And I used the food to actually counteract that. You know, that's why I came up with that: face your stuff, don't stuff your face, because I needed to face my stuff. I needed to face that anger. I needed to you know, get that out there and deal with it in order to stop stuffing my face. And it's been a long recovery. And well, I'm 38 years old now, you know, so I have to say that I do have a grip on it most of the time, right? But I do still have the moments where I kind of go, oh my God, am I like borderline? But I want to do this because obviously after that, everything is history, right? My mother really showed me what I could do and what I could become. And I ended up going to England, and I did my post-grad, and I met Daniel, and my life completely changed 13 years ago. And you know, that was the moment of truth in my life, and that was the moment that my whole life changed. And I thank my mother and myself and Daniel and Lindsay, who's my friend, if she watches this, who pushed me as well to go to Manchester at the time and follow dreams. And it's been a long road of recovery, even so that after I had Benji, I was bound with postnatal depression, and I put on so much weight, and all of those thoughts started coming back again, because they are there somewhere, right? They're layers in an onion. I tell my clients all the time, they are layers in the onion. You really need to start peeling those layers out of the onion. And you know, I had peeled a lot of the layers until obviously after I had my son, and you know, same thing happened. The pattern was there. I started working in the food industry, started eating more, I started putting on weight, and then I started fasting again, and not eating anything, and all that kind of stuff. But the good thing is that I learned to recognize it. And as soon as I recognized it, my son is right here now. I'm live on Facebook. So as soon as I recognized it, I could shift it, and I could change it. And that just meant I took my power back. And I no longer let that disorder, I no longer let that disease, I choose to no longer let that, you know, that specific pattern to have any power over me, because I know that my bones are not the best that it can be right now because of my teenage years. I know that I'm having bursitis right now because I didn't have, you know, I was nutritionally depleted, right? And I know that a lot of things now are happening, such as I suffer with constipation now. Why? Because my body must have been adjusted to having all of the Dulcolaxes and laxatives in the world, because I ate and I either purged or I ate, you know, I had all of the Dulcolaxes and, you know, a whole packet of Dulcolaxes, you know, like it's what I used to do. And yes, I'm still working on myself, and with hypnosis, with timeline therapy, I've been able to really recognize, and I've taken my power back from this silent illness. So I suppose that this Facebook Live is to really tell you a little bit about my story, because I promised myself since last year that I was going to do this Facebook Live. Every client of mine knows my story is this, and I do talk about this in closed rooms, but just doing this live to the world, knowing my mother can watch this, my dad can watch this, it's really, really triggering. But it is also very cathartic. I am still shaking because I don't know how people will respond to this. But I just want to say that I'm here. My mission in life, the reason why I started working with emotional eating and eating disorders and eating habits, is because my mission in life is to help people, women, girls, know they no longer need to tie their self-love to food, because they are loved. Even if they don't feel it, they are loved. And the first thing, and first and foremost, they need to love themselves. And food is not going to make you love yourself. Like, it doesn't make me love myself. Now I know that, obviously, but you know, so there you go. This is my raw, real, crying. You're a legend, Kylie, as well. Thank you for watching. My mission is to empower girls and women and men, because eating disorders, you know, I know this is like a stigma as well, and I really wanted to talk about this because as soon as I mention the words eating disorder, people run away, right? But you know, binge eating is an eating disorder. It doesn't necessarily need to be diagnosed, and so many people go through up and down and all that kind of stuff, like thinking, you know, that it's not an eating disorder or whatever. It doesn't have to be diagnosed, and it doesn't have to be a stigma. Let's get that stigma out of the freaking mental health world. Seriously, get that stigma out. Mental health, it is like the most important thing, right? It's a part of your health, and it's important to talk about this. It is important to open up the conversation to talk about what can happen if you give in to these negative feelings. And so, yes, guys, as I say all the time, let's face your stuff. Stop stuffing your face. I'm an ugly crier, I can see. And I'm now even having like but anyway, if this helps someone, there is obviously a little bit more after I've had my son and all that kind of stuff that I could talk about it, but my goal today was to really start releasing the stigma of mental health, the stigma of what are people going to think of me if I tell them how I'm feeling. Because who cares? Who gave you the right to assume what they're thinking? And that was what ended up making me press the live button today. Who gave me the right to assume what my mother, my father, my family, my friends, who gave me the right to assume what they're thinking? This is me. This is my story. This is how I've recovered. I'm still in recovery because I do believe that there are layers in the onion. And this is how I can empower you to take your power back. Stop giving your power away so easily, because your power is the only thing that you have in this life that you can control and that you can target where it goes. Stop giving your power away to food. Let's take it back. Just like I take it back. Just like I took it back. Just like I take it back often, you know, because sometimes when I am emotional, I do feel like right now I am totally feeling like I want a caramel slice to make me feel better. But even I don't, you know, that's just obviously, but I'm not going to have it because I feel like I've come live. I said what I had to say and I feel good about it. And even if I do want to eat that slice of caramel slice, that's awesome. You know, like at least I'm going to eat it. My cortisol's in there. Oh, no, not actually emotional about it. I'm not going to eat it, by the way, just between us. But yes, thank you so much for watching, guys. If you resonate with the story, I would love you to share it because I am here to really raise awareness for eating disorders. I'm here to raise awareness, especially in teenagers, mothers of teenagers. I have, you know, mothers and daughters come to me to do sessions because they know that relationship is very strong together. And this urge only came about after my mother-in-law passed away, because I realized that I had a really beautiful mother-daughter relationship with her that I missed, and I saw that pattern coming back, and then I realized, no, I have to talk about this. So yes, thanks for watching. This was a huge Facebook Live for me. If you resonate with this, please comment below. Please share your story below. Please forward this this video to anybody that would need to. And you know, if you do need a year, like an ear, right? Not a year. If you do need a year, an ear. Sorry, guys, you know I'm Brazilian. If you do need someone to listen to you, just message me and I'm happy to just have a chat. And I'm here open to anybody who is affected by these disorders. Of course, that I see clients, but I am more than happy to empower you and you know, and give you one of my free resources if you do need to and you cannot afford the work, right? To me, the most important thing is to raise awareness and know that this is normal. It is normal. Body image issues is unfortunately something that affects, I think, pretty much every teenager at one point or another in their lives. And whether it ends up being a disorder or whether they can deal with it, it really depends on how strong their health is, their mindset, or their mental health is. So thank you so much. Always remember, face your stuff, don't stuff your face, and health is not a size, it's a feeling. Lots of love to you all. Big love from me. Thank you for being here and holding the space for me. And I'll speak to you soon. Bye for now.